Oh, I don't know, it doesn't happen.
This might not, it should work, but there, you never know.
What just happened?
Technology makes everything. That's not very much else.
Yeah. Call this meeting to order and start with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors is scheduled for Friday, June 25th at 9 a.m. at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring, Florida. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. Consent agenda. May I have a motion?
We need,
Consent agenda.
we need public comment.
We're have comment between the board first. Public comment? Okay,
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
yes. Okay, now we're gonna start the public hearing, and that's on the assessment for Durango Street sock piping project.
On Traeger Street, it's definitely. We notified everyone that there would be a cost to do the sock pipe underneath their driveway. So there's an assessment, and it was gonna be $1,000 a driveway. We sent letters out a few months ago before we started this, and I would say 90% of people agreed to it originally anyways. But because of the laws, the rules that we have to go by, we had to send letters to them, and that's why we have to have a public hearing. We're ready to go as soon as we get the okay. The sock pipe is in and stuff already. And I've actually got a text this morning from a lady from Maine asking when we're gonna be starting. So I just told them I was coming to the meeting. So, by law, we had to go this route.
And all the documentation is available at the district office if anybody wants to review the plans. And I believe the $1,000 price is spread out over 4 years. So if they don't, they have the option of paying all up front. Otherwise, it'll be billed in 4 installments of $200.
I thought we were gonna go ahead and start this prior to getting agreement.
Can? No, we couldn't. No, we couldn't do it. Until we notified all the residents.
And we have to have one more public hearing.
No, today's the one.
Today's
moving.
Any other comments by the supervisors?
after today, we just go ahead and go.
Correct.
Right, the contractor's ready to start as soon as the board gives the okay. So, I mean,
No, we've already voted. This is just the public hearing that's required by law.
so they'll probably be out there next week sometime starting. So,
The
okay,
question is, we're gonna have public comment in a minute, and if anybody from the public comes up and raises an issue, then the board has the ability to make some changes.
Any other comment? Okay, is there any public comment?
I live on Traeger Street. Yeah, sorry, my name is Monica Honeywell, and I live on Traeger Street. The person that texted you this morning is my neighbor. We've been very actively involved in this, having this fixed for years. We've been trying to get it done. And we just hope that it does get done because we're swimming together to our mailboxes. We would like to happen as soon as possible. And the easement, are they gonna, when they fix the driveways, are they gonna make it straight instead of still flat? So what should we do for that?
no. There's, the way the drainage system is set up, it percolates into it, but the soft pipe will be buried. And as the water comes out, it'll go into the pipe, and then you won't have the puddle and all that. We did the same process on the street, but it worked. I mean, knock on wood, it worked perfect. So, I mean, and Drew's here who designed the project, and we feel very confident that your front yards will will be dry, and you won't have to put boots on to go get your mail.
You get it on Sunday.
Yeah, somebody does.
If you want to take a look.
Yeah, I can take it if you want to take a ride. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we,
I mean, we're gonna raise it a little, yes, because we're gonna, but not completely.
yeah, because I mean, when our lawnmower guys get there, it's just,
Yeah.
they got the lawnmower stuff. It's short lawnmowers on our
Okay.
property, our neighbors. But over the years, because of all that flooding.
Right.
We have a huge dip.
Exactly. Yeah,
We're just worried that even though we fix it, there's still that dip. in
Yeah.
the driveway.
They are gonna raise it a little, yes, absolutely. And we'll be overseeing the project the whole time, so we'll be there, so if you see us, you know, we come out and we'll come, so.
And you said as soon as possible.
The contractor told me that they would be there Monday, they thought, so we'll be starting it right away.
And then I have another question. I see they're fixing something by the retention pond further down the road. Is that anything related to this project?
It's, no,
Okay.
that's a water project. Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. Any other public comment? Okay, is there nothing we do, right?
That concludes the public hearing.
Okay, just go on. Good luck, Mike. I hope we get this done.
We will.
Okay, action agenda, and I'm gonna have Supervisor Brooks read these one at a time, because you can tell my voice is struggling, so. Ray, you can read the first one.
Resolution number 2021-06/11-16. A resolution of the Center Lake Seafood Improvement District to approve an interlocal agreement with Highlands County for removal of emergency storm debris. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
All right, I will now turn this over to Mrs. Stevens. All right.
I'll talk about it. This is a interlocal agreement that we've entered into before. Since the board packets went out, there has been some back and forth between some of the other involved parties, and so the document is technically still evolving. I don't know that we have a finalized version yet. I think I've seen 3 different versions since the board packet went out. So if the board wants to vote on it today provisionally and say, as long as Mr. Spiegel and I are have no issues with the final draft of the proposed or final draft of the agreement, or we can bring it back to you at a later board meeting, because the version of the agreement that was included in the packet is not what we're dealing with today. So they aren't, in my opinion, significant issues, but everybody's version of significant is different. So I'll leave it up to the board's pleasure if you want to approve it provisionally, as long as it meets Mr. Siegel and my approval, or if you want us to bring it back once there's a final version, happy to do that. But basically, it's a county, it's like back when Irma hit, there was a countywide, there was no local agreement that basically said the county was going to spearhead the remove all the emergency debris removal, and we all joined in on it. And then we've been joined in on it each year since, to the best of my knowledge. And so basically, there's just, I don't know if we've got a significant hurricane season coming up, but there's a lot of back and forth about how they want this agreement to read.
I guess bottom line is we can either join this or we can do our own. If we do our own, then we have to try to get reimbursement from FEMA ourselves, which isn't a very fun process. So basically the county will take care of it for us.
I mean,
Unless they put something in there.
I would be leaning towards doing this, however, the documents are so different. One is written for the city. The other, the original one that we saw was written for the district. The district was going to be charged. They did that 45%. But the city one, they're not being charged. So I would prefer to see an actual document designed for the district that we would sign off on before I sign off.
No, I don't care. We don't care either way.
Yes, I mean, we can table this until the final version. Well, basically, it comes down to what the county is going to, the county is the controlling party. Because that's who is spearheading it. And we are deciding whether or not we want to join in that agreement. And so that's, I
I
guess,
assume they would write it with the district in mind, or a version of it with the district.
well, I think they're trying to catch everybody, because they're trying to do one agreement to appease all parties, you know, Spring Lake, you know, the different municipalities, everything that's encompassed within Highlands County. And so I think that's where
The second copy that I saw, only really refers to Sebring and Avon Park. What was that missing?
That was probably one written by.
Yeah, because the different parties have submitted their proposed drafts, because like I said, I believe Spring Lake has no issue with it. They're they're a dependent special district, they're similar to us. But the municipalities appear to be having a little bit more of an issue with the wording.
Yeah, I did talk to Judge Servo, and they're on board with this. The issue is with Sebring and Avon Park. And that's why you're seeing one that says city instead of district. So I think when it's all over with, the ultimate document will refer to.
My
we can wait.
vote would be to wait until we have an actual document that we can approve.
I was the board president when hurricane hit. And we had this agreement, and just for you guys, it worked very well. I mean, I don't care if we wait, but it was very important that we had that agreement for us when it happens. I don't, as long as you guys don't care, I don't, because I'm not gonna vote against it if there's a word in there I don't like, because I've been through it. And it worked very well for the county, or from the
It's not
county.
a problem as long as we don't have a hurricane.
That was my question.
That's right.
So we haven't had a hurricane in 10 days for the next 14. Are we still on board? Are we still part of this?
Well, no, I mean, this is a resolution to approve it. Technically what was drafted was what's, like I say, that's the problem is when the board packets go out a week before the meeting and the version of the document that went out with this board packet is now changed. And so that's the problem that we're facing today. So if you want to, the question is do you want to see the final version of the agreement, which makes perfect sense to me, that's what I want. Or do you want to say, we'll approve it as long as the district personnel and the district attorney have no issue with the way it's worded? Either way is fine with me.
So if we get a bad storm or a fluke, nothing would be resolved.
Has the current interlocal agreement expired?
That's what I'm not sure about.
Because we signed one last
That's
year.
right.
That's what we need, right?
My guess is that it has not expired, but if it has not expired, it's probably getting very close.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah, I think we need the final version. But I'd like to know if that's, other one's expired.
let me see if I can find that out real quick.
Well, we should have it decided last year, there should be dates on it.
I remember the discussion about it. So.
It's fairly typical when you try to get 5 people to agree on anything.
Well, yeah.
Always some back and forth, and you get their lawyers involved, and it gets a lot more complicated.
So at this point.
He's looking to see the expiration.
It expires September 11th. Omar just confirmed.
When?
September 11th.
September 11th.
So we're good.
Thank you.
All right, so then I would, so is the decision from us that we're gonna wait for the actual document?
Right.
Oh, okay. Is there any public comment? No public comment. Then I'm reading the decisions, we're gonna wait for the document, the actual document.
So yeah, so what we need to do is we need to have a motion to table this until the next one.
All right, can anybody?
I make a motion that we table this resolution until the next meeting.
I'll second it. Right. We have to do public.
Public comment on the motion to,
Anybody like to Any public comment on that? Any more comment from the board? Okay, the next resolution.
I gotta call roll.
Huh?
Gotta call roll. Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes,
All right. The next resolution number 2021-06/11-17. A resolution of the Center Lake Sebring Improvement District to award the bid for the Center Lake Infrastructure and Maintenance designated as RFP 21-04.
Motion.
I have a motion. So move.
Second.
Okay, who'd like to take over and explain this?
I'll take care of that.
All right.
We recently opened bids for the infrastructure construction and maintenance, continuing contract. Since the last few months today. In the past, we have feedback from other municipalities, contracts similar to this, on our paving and some other miscellaneous, smaller works. But we're at a point where they have renewing contracts, but I guess our rules or regulations prevent us from piggybacking on anything older than 12 months. So we wanted to use that same contract again, even though it's still in place, it's 12 months old, so we can't technically piggyback on it. So our solution is why not create our own continuing contracts, we're gonna use it anyway. And we were able to, we essentially copied it almost verbatim, the wording for the contract and line items. Customized a little bit to suit the district better. Things that we would like to do, or would like to see changed. I don't want to say make it fair, but make it fair for both parties. They do like smaller job. Some of their line items are huge jobs, and we might want to come in. Like we want to pave only a short segment of the road or an intersection. They now have an option to price that accordingly. But we picked up the bids and we had 4 responders. I'm probably gonna mess up the name of some of them. Roadway construction, Cahill underground development, next environmental and excavation point were the 4 contractors that responded. 3 of them, I believe, were underground contractors. They can kind of do roads, drainage, utility work. The 4th one, next environmental, usually focuses on sewer. We've used all the contractors except for the one Ormond. The other ones we've used on and off for different projects, even within the last couple of years. Our recommendation is to award contracts to the 3 we've used. Not only because we've used it in the past, but Ormond construction. I have nothing against them, but their line items were on average higher. I just didn't see value for the district, but it doesn't mean we can't still award the contract. If someone else wants to still award them one, but this contract allows the, I don't say we're bypassing the RFP process, but this is the RFP process to do road paving, or if we want to do our drainage project, we can award it through this line item process. But anything, I think it's still good at the same purchasing rules. If it's over like 25,000, the board will still have to make a decision on approving the project. That's going to be have any questions?
This is just our own version of the things that you have done in the past.
Yes, then we think
You had a piggyback contract
correct.
that did the same thing.
Correct.
This is just identifying it solely for us.
Yes, that way we, if we want to, we have the option of contract, we can renew it, but still do it like next year, potentially without having to put it out for bid again. If everyone agrees, there's language in there that they can, there's a percentage increase they can do to help with inflation, which next year it might be fishy because we don't know where inflation's going, but the intent is to be able to renew it if we want to.
I have a couple questions. Whose idea was this? Because I don't remember ever discussing this, ever.
But
But I must have missed it.
And I don't know that it came to a board meeting, but it came up when we were trying to do some, we were doing prepare for budget, I think last year. I think with Tanya, because we were having trouble, the way we've been paving, we needed some way to piggyback, but we couldn't because of the rules, so that's where, why don't we just do our own contract and put it up for RFP. So we have a continuing contract that we can actually do that. It wasn't, it's not gonna incur, like, it's not binding us to anything, we don't, even if we award contracts, we don't have to do the work, so it's not a, it's more benefit to everybody if we do this, not necessarily, it's not a cost us any money to have the contract.
And this would be good, it's a yearly deal, we have to re-sign up every year.
We can we can renew it then every year.
Or is that what it says?
Yeah, I think it's a lengthy contract. And RFP.
Okay.
But all parties have to be on it.
Is this legal?
Yeah, we're good. It's the main issue is that in the past, we've always had something to piggyback off of. But I guess because of the way some of the other municipalities are doing things is that they're doing projects like this where they agree, okay, we're going to set up a pricing system for specific types of work, and then we're gonna have that, be renewable. But our rules say that if we're going to piggyback off of an existing contract, that had to be awarded within the past 12 months. And so if any, if any other municipality or government entity is doing these continuing contracts, we lose the ability to piggyback off of them because it's not within the 12-month time frame. And so that was the thought process of we just develop our own line item pricing system so that we don't have to do RFPs for each specific project. And I say I'm confident that with the line items that Drew has drafted up are going to be sufficient to cover the district's needs.
So if we eliminate RFPs, but it still, if it comes to 25,000, we still have to raise it for approval. And just don't go through the RFP process.
Right.
Correct. So basically what we would do is we would come to the board, we say, this is the project that we're wanting to do. This is the line items that we're going to utilize. And based on these line item pricing, this is the amount of the project, and then the board would approve it.
Do we have any other contracts that we utilize that are going to be affected by the 12 months?
I mean, I don't know specifically if there's a project that we want to do. That's generally what we do, is if we want to do a project, district personnel research to see, is there any agreement that we can piggyback on so that we can avoid the RFP process.
For example, right now, we're talking about the meter replacement of this, and if we determine a specific meter that we want to put in, and we can find a contract within the last 12 months, I think it's important, isn't it? Then we can use that rather than going through the RFP process.
If we accept these prices, who we piggyback with?
We have our own contract, we won't piggyback.
We're not piggybacking with it.
Not for this scope of work, not for construction and maintenance, until we'll have our own contract in place and won't have.
So basically, we've eliminated competition down to 3 sources.
No, we still don't have to pick these guys for anything, we don't have to, do a great job, but we still want to put out a bid, but we don't have to, we're not eliminating competition, but it's.
I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying, it sounds like that's what you're doing, I just want to know.
I don't want to say eliminate competition, we can still hire anybody who wants to. This isn't guaranteed that it will work, it doesn't require us to use the right, so, but it's. it enables us.
Then that leads to a question of who's going to make this decision. I mean, if it's not, I assume that we sign this, that's it, it's going to be one of those 3 unless it's the right.
That's not necessarily true.
Who will make that decision?
He's gonna see if the engineer figures out what let's say you want to pave the street. Here's what has to happen. So much side work, so much paving, so much stuff, and use these prices. And then see which contractor is cheaper and recommend to the board that we use this one. Assuming that contractor is willing to do it in the time frame we've done. If neither or none of them are, then we can obviously go out and price it out individually if we want to. It's up to us. This is just trying to streamline the process. That's the explanation.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if it's under 25,000, you don't have an employee that would probably go do it anyway, they would come to us. That's, okay,
Under 25,000, you tell them what to go ahead.
Right. But using this price
Yes.
that you got.
And you verify the pricing, but
Yes, there's a few line items that I talked to the contractors to do that they made a mistake on. There's some minor stuff that they have a huge price on. Well, we have the option not to have to hire them to do that if they're gonna put us in that price. So it's, everything's good on the pricing that I gave, or that's in the list. They provided, they're not gonna, they don't really have room to negotiate once we hire them to use this pricing, so that's something.
I got one last question. Say infrastructure, construction, and maintenance. What is not included? This including that everything.
This is mainly after roads, utilities, drainage work with all this. That includes some sidewalks, curbing, related items in the right of way. There are labor costs, equipment costs. Like if we wanted to go out and skim the ponds for the wastewater treatment plant, stuff like that, there's labor, stuff like that. But once you get into like equipment, big equipment, there are markups for materials, so if we have them by instead of directly purchasing, there's stuff like that that they can cover, but if we're going to go buy a generator, we're gonna need equipment or putting a roof on something, it's not gonna be covered by this.
I just thought of this months ago, and I may be wrong in this. Didn't we sign an emergency agreement with somebody? That if we had a problem, they come out right away. Because I want to know how this affects that and that affects this.
The only emergency contract we have is with Air and Electrical, which is our electrician. We put on an RFP,
That was just,
one sole electrician across the district, and inside that RFP, there was a provision for emergency response time.
that's.
Yeah, they don't, these guys, if they were work related to that we're doing electrician work, usually we directly hire an electric to work with whoever, we've done that in a couple of projects.
Do any of these guys provide emergency work if we need them like real quick?
I think they all will, but KDL, in our experience in the past, has been a little more front. That's,
Do we have that put in the agreement?
there's a, we want to force them or use the only emergency, or how do you? They gave us a price, I put a line item in here to, if they wanted to, just to make it fair, because after hours work, we usually paying employees more, but they have a markup if we do after hours, 5% or 10%, or emergency work, they have to come up with something else.
No, I mean, you have to tell me, I'm just concerned if something goes haywire and needs to be addressed right away. I don't want these guys saying, we'll see you next week.
They get a 25% markup for emergency after hours labor and stuff.
I don't know that we can force any contractor to come here and do emergency work. I guess they would have to be willing to enter into a contract to do that, but I don't. Generally, that's not the case, but I know KDL's been out there every time we saw them. Just for.
Okay. Anything else on the board?
No.
Any public comments for this? Before we vote, I would just say that I will support it, but only for a period of a year, we'll see how it goes. Yes, so,
1 year contract.
yeah,
It's a 1 year contract.
Yeah, it's 1 year with option for both parties to agree to renew it, so if we don't like something that's done.
Right.
In a year, this will come back. In a year, it'll come back whether or not you want to renew it.
Chrissy?
Supervisor Harrod,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes,
The last agenda item, presentation on grading.
In 2020, county approached the district about doing a joint state revolving fund, asked for drainage maintenance and repair, I believe it was the DD. One's driving the drainage maintenance and upkeep and improvements. They approached us with the intent that we were going to join in on a larger project, and they were going to handle all the process and everything. We found out afterwards it wasn't going to benefit them to do it, but so we're on our own for it, which is not a huge negative, but while we were doing that, we prepared a list of areas that we knew it would be beneficial to address. It involved ditch cleaning. We have a number of them we all did in the outback. It's 10, 11, and 8. There's a number of culverts crossing the road. I think we brought this up in the previous drainage discussion. That are sinking in our road, causing dip. So we thought this was originally was a good opportunity for us to get some funding to help the financial burden instead of like doing like 2 or 3 a year, trying to get them all done, or as many as we could, and get a 0% interest loan. That was the premise of this. We put together a few different emissions cost estimates, and we have some plans depicting where we wanted to do, but the total of our estimate came out to a little over $10 million, which is still a huge burden over 30 years for the district. So Dan, since the county is no longer going to help us pay for it, and instructed me to reduce it and prioritize all the areas we want to do. The cost estimate up on the screen should be the prioritized cost estimate on the areas we'd like to be done first if we want to participate in this. Most of the prioritized areas on the top of the list are the ponds that we have in Unit 10 and some of the structures in Unit 8. They've been damaged over the years. We've been slowly repairing some of them. West of Balboa, we did one a few years ago. There's a number of them that have like skimmer damage, like they're not completely broke, they still function, but we're going to keep up with our swift mud permit requirements. We're supposed to make sure everything's fully functional. The skimmers is usually aluminum with fiberglass stretched out front that skims off like large floating items, or they say oils and greases floating at the top of the water. It pushes the water, only allows the water to lower the channel to get through. A lot of the structures, some of them are slightly damaged. I know we tried to repair them as much as we could, but whenever we get a big storm, it usually wreaks havoc on them. And some of them are just old. I know we have a completely failed structure back there, but this would include repairing all those and doing some bond maintenance around them for the main priority. The rest of it goes through the higher priority items, the culverts and the roads when we get past the structures. But as we go on, the lower priority items, ditches and stuff that we like to do, but it's not affecting safety. They're not completely blocked, but they're not going to drain as long as they should. The reason that we like to do it in a bigger project is that we can't send our mowers anymore, because I think from what I heard, there was a time where someone was instructed not to do mowing in the back, or I guess he didn't have money to do it years ago, 15 years ago. So there's a lot of trees in the ditches that we can't just run our mowers down. So it require heavy equipment to get in there and clear it back out. That's some of the items that are covered on here. But most of it's focused in the back, but we do have a number of repairs up front, pot sealing on south, and front road, we have the culverts and those, and a few other additional ones. But at this point in time, I guess we need to know if you all are in favor of participating in the SRF funding opportunity, and what kind of financial obligation we want to take on.
At this point in time, we have a guardian who is going to apply for SRF funding for us. So we need to instruct him, or are we ready to do this drainage? We have a cost estimate. We can borrow 30-year money for 0%. So if you did the whole thing, just keeping it even, it's $5 million. That would amortize over 30 years. That's about $166,000 a year. And that fixes pretty much everything in the back, the worst.
All the major culverts that are failed, and the major damage structures.
I think it's important to remember that this is part of our Swift Mud approval issue. So we have the responsibility. We don't have to do it all now, and we have been doing it slowly, a little bit along as we have funds to do it. I think we've been putting between 200 and 250, if I'm not mistaken, Omar, in this, and also part of it's in the road, so culvert repair. So you would be obligated if you borrowed all of this to do $166,000 a year, and then you would need to do an additional number of hundred, I guess, something like that. So your total expenditure for drainage would be 266 on an average, or there's nothing magic about 100, but I guess that's an important thing to understand. You're basically going ahead, moving ahead with doing the work that needs to be done. Financing at 0% interest. The only negative I can see is that you're obligating yourself to $166,000 a year for the next 30 years. The other piece of that is we haven't been maintaining this stuff back in the back for the last 30 years. So we have to, if you do this, then you're gonna have to start maintaining it as well. Mowing, and so there's a cost there, but I don't know what it would actually be. We do have the obligation to do it, though. I know that. I just don't know what the board's appetite would be for financing of this magnitude. I think it's important to recall as well that we are looking, we're kind of up in the air waiting on Florida Rural Water to give us the survey, but if their determination is we expect that we need a new sewer plant, then that's probably in the tune of $10 million or something on that order. That we would also finance. You did $10 million for the 30 years. Well, if you do 20, that's $500,000 a year. So it's pretty easy calculation. We can, cash flow would be adequate to handle both of these or more at where we are now. You could, obviously, I think if you did the sewer plant, you would probably increase water rates in order to pay at least part of it. So I wouldn't say that we can't do this, but I would say that the board needs to think about how much debt are you willing to assume. We have the obligation to do all of this stuff.
I am of the opinion that we kick this can down the road about as long as we can. I mean, you can sit there and deny that we have to do it, but I am of the opinion that this is something we need to get on with. Even if we have to do water treatment facility, this is stuff that we should have been doing all along. We haven't done it, and now it's here and it's facing us. And I say we need to get on with it.
At this point, we need to instruct Guardian to go for the state revolving fund loan, if that's your choice. That's really the decision we're asking you for today. Do you want us to go ahead and put him on the job, which is going to cost us $10,000 for him to fill out all the paperwork and all that stuff.
I agree that we need to get this on board. Start.
Yeah, for the last, I'm not in favor of doing it, but we've already discussed this. I think I need to know what the water treatment plant is going to cost. Then we need to sit down and say 10 million here, 5 million here. Meters are $1 million. Pipes that we have to replace is $1.2 million. I don't know. We play around in his office the other day. We came up with about 17 million or something like that. That, and if we were to fund that all at 0% interest, we can't afford it. So I think we have to sit down and say, here's what it's going to cost. Here's what we got to do as far as perhaps changing the water rates and stuff like that to get us some more revenues, and come up with a plan as opposed to saying, you know, let's do this and for 5 years, then we'll have to borrow another $10 million. We need to sign off on the whole thing. Because I think otherwise, we're gonna strap ourselves. And I should say, we won't be strapping ourselves, we'll be strapping somebody else down the road with a bill. It's just gonna be like the government. They're not gonna be able to handle the debt. That's, so, if we get away with it, yeah, because do we need to do it? Yes, we do. But we need to do it correctly, smart.
In essence, we're dealing with what the previous boards did not.
I'm sorry.
In essence, we're dealing with what previous boards should have and did not or could not.
It's, I mean, it's here, it's here. Now, all I'm saying, I agree, we have to do this, but I think we have to see the whole picture and decide how we go forward.
That's certainly an option. There's nothing says we have to do this right now. The SRF is on a quarterly basis, so we can apply the next quarter, if that's the
I
board.
mean, we need to know the price, in my opinion, we need to know the price first of the treatment plan. Because it's a really going to be $10 million worth of leverage and line rate. We need to get the best guess estimate, because that's the biggest nut we're going to have. Tackle. Once we've got that, then we can add on the other stuff. Maybe we only do 3 minutes of your phone. Maybe we can do 5 minutes. But until we have that figured out, I don't think we can make a decision. And we're only talking a couple of months, right? Before we get them to
Okay.
so I'm not gonna put the can down to next year. I'm just thinking it.
And when do we expect to hear from the water, on the water,
30 days ago.
30 days ago?
The guy's supposed to be here Monday to talk. I don't know how. Talking is one thing, getting a written report out of these guys, is something else, and what they will tell you is you're getting a $50,000 report for 30 days on the clock. So you want to make it, go hire an engineering firm to do it. I would say that a reasonable assumption is that we would have it by the end of this quarter.
But
Or the end of the third quarter.
if we told Guardian to move ahead, all he's doing is finding out what state revolving fund, SRF funding is available for the project.
He says it is available for this project, and what we would actually be doing is authorizing him to spend $10,000 going and filing all our paperwork application. You know. Or we can hold him off for 30 days or 90 days, or whatever. That's really why it's here today, is to talk about timing and how do you want to do it. I think that's correct, Terry. The way you understand it was.
According to all the motions, we got about 4 years. Take away the machinery, the parkings, take away the maintenance agreement that we have down to about $1 million. So we have $1 million, it's not going to be for a year. So if you take $600,000 and $10 million loan, you take $160,000 of the water. So what I'm concerned about is just not enough. That's why I think we have to sit down and take a look at it. Can we live on capital of over $250,000 a year? If not, I don't increase it, or we might as well more than we should. I don't think I'm not prepared to make that kind of decision because I don't know what it is. That's right.
I won't be so complicated. I think we should go ahead and go on with it, start it now. I was involved in a sewer plant that last place was an elected official, and it was pretty easy. There was no money we had to come up with. It was state money, federal money. I just think we should go ahead and go. And the sewer plant is at least 5 years.
Yeah, on average.
At least 5 years apart. And I guess that would be probably for another board to decide. But we need this to get going and for the future.
I guess the other possibility, if you wanted to address 3 million of this, you could prioritize that and come back later for another 2 million, if that's what your choice was. I mean,
The sewer plant.
What- What do we decide? Are we changing what we're gonna do or what?
Well, all I'm saying is.
Okay.
You just need to tell us what you want us to do and we'll go get it done. But I can't obligate the district for $5 million to bring it.
I'd like to wait 2 months to see. Something else will get, see if we have all. I mean, the sewer plant is the future of Sun Lake, not this. Without the sewer plant, it doesn't matter about this. So that's the number one priority. It's 5 years down the road. That's true, but it's also $10 billion. Got to be grateful.
We also, like, I don't have any problem waiting, that's not my decision, of course, but we can also reduce our scope, like Ann mentioned, even it doesn't have to be 3 million, it could be less than that, we could ask for.
I would love to do it as it is. I'm not looking at the corners. I just want to know how we do it.
No, I understand.
What is a realistic, in your mind, what is a realistic timeframe when we'll know better numbers on the waste treatment?
Once we get the results back from Florida Rural Water, we'd have to put together a preliminary design to get some of the wastewater treatment plant suppliers. Because generally, you pick up like Mac Concrete or another brand, and they can give you estimates for construction. We also need to come up with, we're gonna have to reroute some of the force things throughout the district, make sure it all goes there. So you gotta get all that, at least conceptually put together. And, an estimate. We didn't want to go ahead with anything until we know more of the water, because I don't want to spin our wheels if they say, which I don't think they will, but if they say your plant's good for another 2 years or whatever they come up with, don't want to go ahead and jump the gun on that, because we're not in an emergency situation yet. But that's when we can kind of get closer on the collection system we're out in actual plant construction.
That would be safe to say then you're probably at least 6 to 9 months away from getting a number.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, I would say that would be safe.
I think we should go ahead and ask Guardian for this. The construction prices are doing nothing but increasing. Steel prices increased 40% last week. I don't think see any sense in all we're doing is asking for him. All we're doing now is spending $10,000 to get what we need, and I think we need to go ahead with that. I don't see. And then we'll address the sewer plants when we have something, because 6 months is a conservative estimate, especially with the prices to jack with the lumber and concrete. No, I don't go ahead.
And it still doesn't obligate us to do any work other than the paying the corporate to do this actual portion of it. And we can, I believe we can adjust that number however much you decide we want to spend to. I don't think it's gonna lock us in below $5 million.
That's what he said, correct?
You said what?
That he can apply for it and we got approved for 5 million, if that's our number, and we decided we didn't want to take the whole 5, we can just not take it all, not the other.
Still got to pay it back.
No, we wouldn't have to take it, therefore we wouldn't have to.
I understand, but if you took it, you would have to pay it back.
Correct.
Well. Sounds like you guys better go ahead with it. You guys want to go ahead with it?
We have a motion. No, we really have.
No.
So at this point in time, somebody would need to make a motion that we authorize Guardian to apply for the SR fund. If you wish to go ahead. Or not.
Well, the amount of things that have been being hit down the road, maybe. I also move that we go ahead and ask Guardian to see what SR funding is available for this project.
I second.
We have to have public comment.
Public comment?
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks, Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Supervisor Brooks. Any add-on items,
None,
petitions and communication,
none.
staff reports, who wants to start?
I'll go first.
Speak into the mic.
The water plant updates are completed, or 99% completed. We have some painting and touch up, but the whole project went very good. I want to thank Joey and his crew because they were there during most of the construction that I asked them to be, so they could oversee and they would understand what we're putting in. And I want to make sure that, you know, Joey's crew did a great job and it got done. The interconnect is also, Dan and I were out there at 7 o'clock this morning. It's in, they just gotta tweak it a little, so we'll be in good shape with that. The irrigation has been completed over to Town Hall. Pump and heads and stuff. The work out here has been done, that with the irrigation, the sod, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback. People really like how this looks now. Looks neat. Let me see. Warning issues, we've had 203. 84. I'm sorry. And we have 754 watch orders. That's really up from last month. Knock on wood, we haven't had any trouble, you know, with break-ins or anything. So that's been really good. Also, we're doing some work on we're helping Jimmy out on the golf course, doing some concrete. And I want to say that I just met Jim last week and he's very easy to work with. He's very knowledgeable what he's doing. So, you know, I enjoy that. Also, we'll probably be pouring the concrete next week. Concrete's really hard to get right now because it's with the building. It won't be, I called yesterday for a drop and it probably won't be till Thursday. So you'll see a couple paths and stuff and sidewalks. You understand why that, you know, we're waiting for the concrete. That's all I got.
You might want to address the tree issue, taking the trees that you've taken down.
Oh, the trees on, I'm sorry, I forgot about, the trees on the corner of Sun Lake Boulevard and over by Warren's condos there. We took more out. There was a lot of it. I think there were 15 dead ones, which we should probably took out a year ago, but you know, and we also took some trees out here on Edgewater, Grindon. We took it. And then we took 2 trees out on Sun Lake Boulevard that when people saw us cutting the trees, they were calling, the tree's gonna fall, and we had Alex come out and cut them, so that's all been done. So
Any questions for Mike?
Have we started fining anybody for repeated offenses?
Short answer to that is no, but we had a discussion
Right.
this morning.
Right, but there will be, I promise you that. We had discussion at 10 after 7 this morning about that. Okay?
Did you get the message?
Yes. Yes, he did. So it will be done, I promise you, there will be letters sent out on that, no matter what, so. We also met with David, with Bob, and David explained the rules on it, so we're all on board now. You're welcome.
Good morning, Supervisors. First thing, I'd like to formally introduce Jimmy Murphy. He arrived a few days after our last meeting. Jimmy's kind of hit the ground running and he's got a lot of projects going on. If you've been on the course, I'm sure you've seen a lot of those.
Also, the Aqua Tea project has started. You see a lot of areas of being prepped and they're moving forward with that right now. The new practice areas behind the clubhouse is all roughed in. The irrigation contractor was on property yesterday. So they will analyze irrigation for that project probably next week or so. There's been a lot of aerification on the golf course in the high traffic areas on Deer Run. Ninja time aerification of the greens was done on Deer Run. This is all around the closure of Deer Run. A pre-emergent weed control application was applied on Deer Run in the rough area. Post-emergent applications will continue on both courses as we work through the summer. To clean up a lot of our weed pressure that we have out there. As you know, we've had several erosion areas around the ponds. Those areas have been are being repaired. We added some new sand and they're going to be prepared for fabric and riprap that will help prevent the further erosion in those areas. The bulkhead on number 1 Turtle Run, that process of preparing that will happen next week when Turtle Run is closed. Also during the closure of Turtle Run, we'll be verticutting the greens, aerifying tees, greens, and fairways. We'll also be top dress roll, make sure it gets nice and smooth on the greens. There'll also be a pre-emergent program for loosening crabgrass. And also there'll be applying some soil limits, especially in the back nine trail, to improve the soil conditions over there. On the membership side, not a huge update from last month. We did have a few summer memberships come in. So that puts us a little over $1 million now. It's like right around 1,008,000, I believe. So it's about 32,000 short on budget right now. But that'll continue over the summer a little bit. Going on in the restaurant, we have a few things coming up. We have a summer date night coming up on Tuesday, June 15th, the Italian pasta buffet, Saturday, June 19th, and we have live music on Friday, June 25th. Starting to get some of our events coming back to the club, so that's nice. On the golf side, we had the Chacoma Junior Tour kids on the property yesterday. I was able to see the kids out there playing. They had about 60 kids, a lot of good score shot. It's good to see the kids out. Tomorrow we have the Weber Alumni Tournament. It's just a smaller deal, about 50 people that do over a shotgun on beer. So, that's all I have for updates. And we have more to talk when we get to our discussion later. So hopefully it doesn't affect that. Is there any questions for me?
How are your reservations going to be 10 minutes?
The ones we have coming up, the summer date night, which is intended to be kind of a smaller, more intimate deal. I think we have about 30 for that. The goal is 50. There's still a little bit of time to fill that in. The Italian pasta night was kind of I wouldn't say last minute. We had a couple of weeks to kind of prepare for that. There are a couple of reservations on that, but a lot of times with restaurant reservations, the peak time when we start seeing it fill up is usually about 3-4 days in advance. So when we're 2 to 3 weeks out like this, you're not going to see it done.
Well, are you going to send out some email blasts?
Yes,
With things for each of them?
Yes, you're going to see all sorts of. We sent out our weekly emails last to public and to the membership. Those are all in there. I believe if it hasn't come out yet, it should be coming out this morning. If you're on our email list, you will be getting those. The live music on the 25th, I know there's already a couple reservations in there, but again, it's a couple weeks out, so those reservations will climb as we get closer. I do know, skipping into July for the fireworks, we have close to 100 reservations for that already. So that one, everybody knows that one's going to fill it quick, so they try to get out in front of those. I hope that answers your question.
I got a couple. Somebody mentioned to me about Tuesday nights, I know that we got certain food, but they kind of challenged it from the standpoint that we do have the have a summer league. It's on Tuesday nights, and they said the place is pretty crowded. I mean, not as crowded as you'd like to see it, but there's a lot of activity after the ballot.
Yeah, there's a few folks that come in after golf league. They come in and sit in the bar and have beverages. In the past, we've done all sorts of stuff to try to get those guys as far as eating.
Maybe you should have a small farm menu or something.
It would require to have, it hasn't been economical in the past. The last 3 or 4 years, we've thrown all sorts of specials out, and it doesn't,
I just have people.
it hasn't been something we've been able to capture at this time, but.
Okay, and then the other thing, this is more, I guess, a human question. I've had a lot of complaints, and the other reason I bring this up is because I got an email from somebody last night. The cups with those metal rims. And I don't know what his position, I hate to say, I'm not talking third party. I don't know what your position is going forward on how you can treat those high rims. Well, people are not very happy.
I like them, they just have to be taught, they need to be an eighth of an inch below the surface. If they're an eighth of an inch, then you're not gonna get the standards. So it's just a matter, I mean, you know, the workers we have, they're not gonna bother. Okay, so, I mean, I would like to leave them in there. If we were changing cups every day, that's the one thing. I think the biggest thing is that's the cup. Especially, you know, I will work with them next week and try to get it all squared away as far as the depth and everything goes. Explain the rest of the cabinet, unless, I mean, everybody thinks we don't need.
No, that's your department, I'm just trying to get the answer. I mean, the complaint is that they're level.
They're flush. They're eighth of an inch above the ring between there and the earth. So it's just a matter of training. Right.
So I can tell them, if somebody told me it's supposed to be.
No, I mean, it's the piece of purpose.
Name of it, okay, I'll tell them to work on that. That's all, I mean, I just need to know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, so the 1 inch is actual cup itself, not the ring.
Right, the cut, the depth between the cup and the target is almost 10 inches. So I put a 3/4 in there and basically just try to split the difference.
And that line is like, just make it.
It keeps it firm, it keeps it from breaking down, as you know. Like, some guys make the plastic and some guys put them in the grips and get those out, so they'll jab them when they go in, if you got too much dirt, we're gonna get back and broke down.
Okay, now, I don't play golf every day, I was in the impression of changing cups every day. We don't do that. I don't know.
Now we go.
How often do you change?
Okay. So you're every 4 days. Unless there's a tournament with the pin sheet and we go check. We're in the process of trying to get staff up a little bit more since I've got on. Mike and I've been trying to look at the staff, and we're gonna bring on a fellow that motivated last year for which we very coming back in the day. And then we're looking at a couple of other guys as far as summer help. We got a lot of projects going on, so we definitely need some labor.
Okay, that's all, I need. Thank you.
All right, good morning Supervisors. I will start with community funding grants updates since we kind of have already touched on quite a bit of that with the drainage SRF conversation. We've also received 2 other work orders from Guardian. One is the water meter replacement SRF, that's a drinking water SRF, and the other is the wastewater treatment plant SRF. So we do have both of those proposals from them in order to do, should we pursue to do the work for those SRF funding opportunities. So we do have those, but that'll be something that we bring up in a discussion for the general fund in a couple of weeks so that the board can discuss the kind of when we want to start tackling those projects and look at how much money we're willing to put into Guardian. What question do you have? Go ahead.
You have those, right?
The work order proposal, which is just like
Just the request.
correct.
To do the work.
Correct. Yes, that is the first item of business with Guardian is the work order proposal. They send to us and then we hold on to those until we're ready to pursue those. So We just have the estimate.
So they thought that there's something available now it's up to us.
Correct, yes, that is correct. Just a note on that in that conversation, because they are 3 SRF programs. Guardian mentioned that there is money for both of the clean water projects, and it would not compete with the other 2, the other project that we have. So that is good news, that they feel like that there is adequate funding for all 3 of those, whenever it is that we choose to pursue. We're also researching with Guardian the availability for a community development block grant that may be available to us for the replacement of some of the tetrite pipe that's in the district. For that particular grant, the county would be the main applicant for the grant, so that'll be something that the district, county, and Guardian all kind of have to work together to pursue. One last update with regards to community funding and grants. A FERDAP grant is a matching grant that is given out by the state when you apply with regards to, in our case, recreation. So that's something that we were looking at as a potential grant opportunity for the playground. For that particular grant, the county also has to be the main applicant for the grant. So like, we cannot apply for that grant on our own. That has to be something the county submits. We reached out to the county with regards to the FERDAP grant and let them know that we were interested in placing an application. Someone can, the county can place 2 applications within a submission year. So we wanted to reach out to them to see, are they planning to submit one, and would they be willing to submit our application if we choose to go after those funds. After we reached out to the county, we were informed that they intend to submit a FERDAP this year in the next submission period, and therefore they were not willing to submit our application as they felt it would pit the 2 applications against each other, and the county didn't see that as a viable grant option for this year. So I've asked for some further clarification on that, but in the meantime, we're going to be assembling an application to submit to RPAC, to the RPAC committee for consideration. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and let you know that we are pursuing it, but that's where we are.
Get this guy here, the commissioner who represents us. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, the county's blocking us now from doing something.
They're not blocking us, they're not agreeing to cooperate with us.
I was being nice when I said blocking, I normally get these different terms.
Yeah, they're doing that too.
I mean,
I'm nicer than you are. The effect is the same though, yes, and unless they are willing to submit our application for that grant, we're not. We haven't given up on pursuing that, but she's updating you on where we are.
I mean, this is gonna be an obstacle that we're gonna run into on the road. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, like I said, I asked for some follow-up information. First, whether or not they plan to submit to, if they have the intention to submit to, and if not, do they have open projects that are keeping them from submitting to? So like I said, I've asked for some further clarification so that we can try and gain a better understanding as to why that was denied, but we will we'll continue to pursue that. We haven't given up on it. So.
No, I understand that, and it's not your fault. I'm not
Sure.
pointing fingers. It's the county. I don't understand.
I agree.
You might not want to tell us, but who particularly is telling you no? And you don't have to answer.
So the emails that were sent for this particular project that go through the grants go through Liz Barber, who then reports to Tanya.
Okay. And she reports to Randy. So it's really coming from me.
Ultimately, they all report to the county commissioners, just like we all report to you.
Yeah.
So
sometimes it doesn't get to the county commissioners.
it could be a commission versus staff issue. It could be a lot of issues, but I was hoping he would be here today so we could clarify that.
Okay.
We will follow up. We will continue.
I'd like to have you here to at least hear us.
Great. I'll reach out to him and see if he can attend the next meeting. And tell him what.
Thank you.
That was already on my list of things to do, but I'll put a stone aside.
So that is all for as far as community funding and grants. Each of you I know received an email regarding fireworks, but we will be having our fireworks on July the 2nd, which is a Friday. The display will be at 9 o'clock, but we will have food truck concessions and a DJ that will start in the open field that's right over here adjacent to the community center. That will start around 7. We'll have them set up for some early arrivals, but we will have some concessions there and a DJ for some entertainment before the fireworks as well. The pool resurfacing, just a quick update on that because I believe I mentioned it in the last meeting. At this point, we are ready to move forward with the pool resurface. We are just waiting on the contractor to give us the date in which we can pursue that. They think it'll take anywhere between, I would say like 5 and 7 days. He said about a week. He said give them a day or two just leeway in case it were to rain or weather were to kind of prohibit them from finishing within a week. But he thinks the work will be able to be done within a week. So that is good news. It won't be a long shutdown. We are looking forward to getting that taken care of. And then
Explain to me why we're not doing July 3rd. We always did July 3rd. Why all of a sudden we do July 2nd? We always did, I mean, that's why we always were the day before the 4th. At least for the last 10 to 12 years.
sure, my understanding, and I can't speak to obviously years before I was here, but I understood that we did it during the week, so we scheduled it for the 2nd, which is a Friday. The district holiday is Monday.
So we scheduled this is our day.
Yes.
Saturday. Okay.
And then the last piece is, before the next meeting, I'll be sending the board another email with regards to a calendar of proposed events for the upcoming year, along with the description of each event that we are proposing for the upcoming year. Some of these events are new, some of them are a continuation of events that we have currently, but last I counted, there was somewhere to the tune of about 18 to 20. Varying in size, so I'll give you guys a good description of what you can expect for recreation and events in the upcoming year as well. And that is all.
Thank you. Omar, you got anything? Okay. General counsel?
Okay, the Castro appeal, over 5 months, still nothing new. The Avanti company filed a motion to dismiss, 53 pages long. I have not had the opportunity to review it. I was unable to get it off the clerk's website for some reason. I've been in communication with Mr. Laconi via text this morning. I'll be talking to him after the meeting. He will get me a copy and update me as to the status of that issue. Bondholder foreclosures, I think I'm getting a check from Omar today. So as soon as that clears my account, the next batch of 7 foreclosures will be filed beginning of next week. And we've also, there's some of the other properties, as far as the bondholder goes, there's some other properties that the district has use for. And so I'm working out basically a release, mutual release, where we're going to we have title to the properties already, but we're going to get the bonds released from those properties. That's pretty much it, unless there's any questions.
You said you're going to order those signs, say off the property signs?
Oh, I think, yeah, Dan and I discussed, we found a version that I have, we have no issue with that some other golf courses have available. So I think that's
So we're going to go ahead with that?
Correct. I think Harold has the,
Yep.
she hasn't been able to do.
Yeah, I've got a vendor that'll do them. We've got a mock-up to show us what they would look like. Just need a number of however many of them we need, and we'll get those ordered. They'll be here
So
quickly.
you're going to put it by the way,
What you have to do.
and it's going to be the ones that we saw. Copy of those.
Correct. We should, the ones we should. But it sounded like one, so.
Yeah.
I'll change the name.
Okay, general manager report.
Okay, in the continuing tortoise saga, On unit 12, we have additional information telling us that the information we had previously was incorrect. It appears now that the first 5 tortoises you catch on property, you can relocate for $300 a piece. From then on, it's $3,000 a piece. On the 80 acres plus or minus that we surveyed so far, there were 32 tortoises. So if you multiply that by the 140 acres, you probably got 60 tortoises. So you're talking close to $200,000. Whether you relocate them on your site or you send them to the tortoise relocation habitat, you can't just move them on your property. You have to set up a habitat and keep it in perpetuity if you want to do one. We don't think that makes any sense for us. So I think at this point in time, the best thing we can do is go back to Mr. Hornick and say, look, we can't deal with these tortoises. Make us an offer, you deal with the tortoises, because he wants to take them in segments instead of taking them all at one time. I really want to sell it in property, I really do think about it. I just don't think we can afford to get ourselves in the middle of it. In the middle between Fish and Wildlife, the county, the developer, and everybody else. But he's been out of town, he's supposed to be back next week. We just need to sit down with him and say, if you want to do, I'm okay with him taking the options and not taking it all at one time. In addition, his biggest issue was not the tortoises, it was that he didn't want to take down all the property and then pay assessments on each individual little mobile home. We can agree as part, I think, of the option agreement that whatever he takes down, we will put into an acreage area, which we already have. That's what Tangy pays. It's 3.5 lots assumed per acre in return for calculation of assessments. So instead of, I don't have a lot, even 40 or something, it would be 3.5. So it's substantially cut his assessment. At this point in time, I think we're just in the point of sitting down with Mr. Hornick saying, here's what we can do, make us an offer. I think the issue for me at least is, first of all, he's got to pay the county whatever the county wants when we hear about assessments. But secondly, we need to get it on our roles and paying assessments as opposed to sitting there doing nothing. So whatever reasonable number comes back, we should probably consider. That's my best assessment at this point in time, but I don't know what that is, and it's really kind of gonna have to be sit down and figure it out. We are going to take down the fence around the car barn area. Twofold. One is we need to be able to get carts into the new practice area. And then the other side, we have about 15, 18 parking places over there we can use when we have a large event. We will put a sign and a post on the entrance that says golf carts only, so we can't just drive a car, unless we tell them to directly. Prior to Earl leaving, we planted some vines on the right side of deer number 18, and was not going to maintain that area, but it looks really bad. Jimmy has agreed to move those vines back closer to the number 10 area and to mow the place now where people watch the events, if you will. So I think we'll clean that area up. It looks pretty bad right now. We're also going to take down the post. Take the fence around the park barn there at Edgewater down and clean that area up. Mike's people are going to do that next week and spray out the path, all those weeds and everything else that's been there forever. The problem is we've set ourselves up to have to do handle every time you turn around. You can only clean that up with weed whackers or Roundup. So we want to get it where we can do it with the lawnmower so it stays clean. We talked a good bit about the SR funds. I don't know if it's necessary for me to leave that from anymore. We have a lot of projects going on that are early in the process. We will know a whole lot more in another 6 months for sure, maybe 90 days. As I said, I have a meeting with the rural water people, hopefully on Monday. That was what we're trying to set up, just to see where we are, number one. Number two, what water meters do you recommend that we consider? There are mechanical water meters, which is what we have now, and those things actually have mechanical gears in them that wear out. They say that they're warranty for 10 years, whereas the ones we got in the water in the ground now are less than 10 years old, and they're not operating very well. The newer ones are either magnetized or basically they're sonic, so there are no moving parts, and supposedly they last longer. But I certainly know more about meters than I knew 6 months ago, but I know less about it than I need to. So we need to get some expertise, and that's what we're trying to do. Once we can get, here's what you ought to have, then I think we can go out for either RFP or try to piggyback on a contract that whoever we decide on has had it for it in the last 12 months. Bottom line is we're pushing that as fast as we can push it, but it's like trying to push a string. It doesn't work very well, but eventually we get there. It is. We have been in contact with Jason. I forget Jason's last name. Down at Harbor Hall. Yeah, Jason Lehman. Regarding the Harbor Hall, this is an invitation. I'm not sure he's made up his mind exactly what he wants to do with that. But anyway, we are talking to him both as a member of the Citrus Trail group and or Sun Lake. If it seems to be something that makes sense, then we'll bring it back to you. But I just want you to know we're not just dropping that. We do have the operations manager position posted now, finally, the special districts website. We have 18 applications that came up with the none of which are qualified, so fairly typical for that. It's an automated thing. I'd say we give that another few weeks and on the special district website. If we don't get any reaction, then we'll probably have to go out and get a headhunter, but we'll see. Mike told you about the cart pass. We're doing 15 on Turtle Run and 9 on Deer. Mike's people are doing the work in cooperation with Indigo. So it's kind of refreshing to be able to work together as opposed to fighting each other with equipment all the time. So I'm hoping that continues. And the staff has a meeting on Tuesday to go over the strategic plan again, just to make sure we're all in agreement who needs to do what specific, and then we'll be back to you with, I know we gave you a copy of it, sort of an update saying this is what we're doing and this is when we expect it to happen. And that's it for me.
Go back to the operations position. We're gonna wait on that.
I'm waiting, it's posted, I'm waiting to see if we get more applicants. Mike's leaving the end of the year, so we have 6 months. I wouldn't wait more than another month. We do have the applicant that we had before, and I can bring him in as if the board so desires, and I think I've got now agreement that everybody's willing to talk to the guy. He is overqualified to be the operations guy, and really wouldn't want to hire him unless you're willing to move him up. So,
well, I'll say, I mean, I talked to Dan about this the other day. Dan, I have not met the guy, so I'm willing to meet the guy. I'm even, if we think he's good, I'm even willing to hire him under the understanding that he's got 2 or 3 months to prove he's capable of taking Dan's position, or he's gonna get fired. I mean, that's how it is. And if he's willing, he seems to be willing to want to come here.
He wants to come to Highlands County, yes, he has been in Highlands County.
But we can't afford him as an ops guy.
No,
We can't afford him as a district manager.
correct, the one piece that I didn't talk about is that we have the human resource survey ongoing now. Each employee got a survey last week, and they're supposed to have them back in, I think, by Monday or Tuesday,
Very early.
which means it'll probably be the end of next week by the time we actually get it done. You know, you got some people that had it in already, and some people that are, you have to go back and talk to, but at any rate, I've asked the consultant, the first position I want them to look at is the operations person in terms of description as well as salary scale. So then I will actually know what it can be, and that's kind of one of the reasons I've been hanging fire, and it seems like everyone is waiting on something, but that, until we actually know, I don't want to get too far down the road with that position.
And our position wasn't posted as we originally thought, it's only been posted for 2
Oh,
weeks.
we can have,
So we don't,
correct,
I mean, we're not in a fire sale yet, so
Correct.
let's wait till we get my opinion, let's wait and get a description of what we want from HR and then move forward.
that should be in the next couple of
Yeah.
months.
And we have a board meeting in 2 weeks, so.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Unfinished business,
No,
new business,
no,
committee reports,
I think we have any,
public comment.
Good morning, Bill Norcross, President. I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask. But first, I'd like to welcome Jim Murphy. Jim Murphy to the Sun Lake team. He appears to be jumping in full blast and addressing some of the problems that are on the documents. They're really people I really appreciate. Non-delay type of stuff. Second question is on the point. What is the status on the membership rates for next year? Have we established that percentage?
Yes, 5%,
workshop.
5%.
5%?
Yes.
No, I understand it was proposed 5, 5, and 3.
Right.
Yeah, but that's all we're dealing with next year. The proposal is to do 5 the year after, but that's
On
not.
a
sure.
$5,000 membership, that's $250. I think that's one of the highest rates that we've ever had here. I understand that. You have to take a look at what's down the road here. Our financial picture in a year or so may not be so rosy. And a lot of people are facing cost of living, tax increase, roof and home insurance, and inflation. So really appreciate it if we can cut that down a little bit, or maybe think about being a little bit more reasonable.
No,
And acceptable with the people, because otherwise you're gonna lose members.
no, I would not vote to change it.
You would not.
No, I would not.
and I don't think we'll lose membership.
Ariel, you were working on grant programs and you didn't have too much success, or you did, it's in flux, what is it?
I wouldn't say that we haven't been successful. I'd say that there's still a little bit of follow-up that's required for one particular grant. The other 3 are in, like Dan said, they're in work order stage right now, which is extremely early. That particular document from Guardian is basically an estimate of the cost that it would take for them to help prepare the application to be submitted. So yes, there are multiple projects that are open. Some of them we are very, very, very early stages of.
Right.
She's significantly farther along than she has ever been in the year that I've been talking about grants. We're starting to make some progress.
And it's very good, but you know, the community wasn't, they're denied, they couldn't get the PPP program or the stimulus because of the tax situation we have there. So I really appreciate full court press on these grant programs because they can really help our community. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, board to board discussion.
Somebody tell me what this is?
That is a listing of the equipment that we have and the work that's been done over the last year. So far, we have been unable to get year-to-date costs, but that at least tells you what we got, who it belongs to, and what needs to be, what has been being done. That's the first pass. I talked to you the last board meeting that we had a listing of equipment.
But this is all the equipment that we own both sides?
No. But the basic, I mean, we have other equipment, but that's all the gators and trucks and all that stuff. Like mowing equipment, that sort of thing. Just information for you to have. What you really need to know is how much that equipment is costing you on an annual basis, so that you can decide when they say, I need a new truck or whatever. Why do we need a new truck? Well,
Stuff like. Is it included in the maintenance agreement?
Some of it is, yes, some of it is not. And it's separated by golf equipment, and that is included in the maintenance agreement. The lease, that is included, yeah, the equipment. All that equipment has maintenance to it, but we're still responsible for changing the oil and tires and stuff like that. But anything has to be fixed. The other stuff on the roads, most of it, unless it's new, has no maintenance. We do that. It's a first pass. When we actually are able to get all the information on an annual basis out there, then we'll be able to say this particular tractor needs to be replaced because it's costing us $5,000 a year in maintenance.
But based on the conversation we had before, should I request from the to have recommendations, utility rates, raising utility?
We're waiting on Florida Rural Water, that survey that they're doing, and that'll be part of the report that they give us. That, I mean, we can tell you right now how we stand with everybody else. But the justification for raising rates or not raising rates is predicated on that report. So
That's assumed. That's
water and sewer, whole utility. I mean, we can tell you exactly where we stand in terms of everybody else right now.
Personally, I would be leaning towards raising the rates for next year's budget. We can get this accomplished before then with that report. That's great. If not, I would like to see us.
We can have that for you the next meeting. That's one we talked about.
We're gonna have some time.
I don't know. You know.
I agree. I think we need to see this year.
We'll bring it to
For
you.
the purpose of knowing what's coming down the road.
We will have that for you. We will have a comparison between ours and everybody else.
Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna have about a 10-minute recess and then we'll start the golf fund budget. I started to see, Mike, I guess you were older, I'm not sure which one.
All right, we want to move into supervisors. Now we've all been through the second budget proposal one-on-one. So I think if you want to look at anything individual, please let me know. Obviously, we want to start off page 4 with the proposed membership rates. Obviously, that has a 5% increase to the baseline rate for the full family, full single. It also includes a request to have 2 groups, the family over 80 and the family over 85, to get those percentages in line with the proposal from a few years ago. So that is in there. So they are in line with the proposed percentage. So you'll see that in there as well. Does anybody have any questions on that page? Or that was probably the biggest thing that changed. All right. On page 5 on the rate sheet, we had discussed that we would basically add $10 to the public rates as a maximum. And then the resident rate would be the minimum. And then we would use dynamic pricing to best utilize our T-sheet for the value. So you'll see those rates on there as well as the current, the dated membership rates.
A quick question on the hotel rates. Why did we not treat them to the maximum rate too?
Those rates stay static because they're selling them way in advance. So it's kind of difficult to do dynamic pricing when they're trying to, I mean, they might book 6 months in advance for a vacation coming down here. I mean, we can't fluctuate the rates when we get here. So
Do we know what competition for?
that I don't have. I could ask Bill at on the Lakes if he would share that information. He has shared that with me in the past.
At that time, how did we prepare?
To be honest with you, I wasn't here when I did it. I was at a different facility. And that's 10 years ago.
I mean, I'm not asking to change, but if you can get that information, it might be interesting to know who's the
Yeah,
I mean, certainly if they're up in 35 or up in 40, that's probably not good.
I think typically they're pricing off us, they look at us and say, well, if they're charging 30, we're gonna charge 20.
I mean, hopefully.
yeah, we can evaluate that. I mean, you can go both ways. I think there's probably definitely a value for, depending on what that difference is. If it's a $2 difference, then we have something like that's not more value than Carter Hall. No offense to them. But yes, we can evaluate that. If we think that's
I know we're different because I talked to somebody who went on a golf trip last summer. And he said they come here and play in the motel. And we're more expensive.
yes.
And he said they had decided they only play turtle when you come here too. So, but we are a little more probably on the rate, which we should be. People ask to play here. I mean, same way when we go to Myrtle Beach, when we used to go, there was $15 difference sometimes, but
Yeah.
we didn't play the $15 cheap ones.
Right.
But I can tell you there's a difference.
That's a good point, Robert. We really should know that information.
A question that while we're talking about and could affect, but in regards to the Harbor Hall invitation, which is how can Jason control that? All that he was the pro.
No, he's the owner
He's the owner of
of Harbor Hall. And apparently it passed to him when He bought the golf course, the way I understood it.
And
Wouldn't
he,
we be talking to someone within the amateur organization that controls where they go?
I think the course was on the tournament for the whole.
Well, I know they had it forever, but.
Otherwise, it would have gone somewhere else, because it was in pretty bad shape.
Okay.
and he owns, he did own the bluffs, right, and sold that, and I think he owns,
Golf and
that golf
I
hammer.
know he,
Okay,
I know he does.
Yeah. so,
I don't think he
from-
ever lost them.
Right, for how I understand it is, yeah, there's kind of two in there. He owns the rights to the Harder Hall Invitational. So, you know, if that tournament were to move somewhere else, in order, if you still wanted to hold that, I mean, you could still call it that title. I'm sure at some point you could try to go around and create a Summit Lake Invitational. But you would have to then get that body to agree to that. And the biggest draw for that tournament is those ladies get Curtis Cup points and world ranking points as amateurs, and that's why they came here. They didn't come here to play Harbor Hall. They came here to compete for those.
And that, I understand that, and I'm just wondering why can't we go to the amateur organization
It,
and say, you know, we no longer have
right,
Harbor Hall,
and
and we would like to entertain. Why can't we do
that is, they would have to be willing to start a new tournament, which I think there's with the Citrus Golf Trail, we're partners with the group that actually handles these things. In order to go that way, it's a lot more difficult to go that way. So you would have to establish a tournament, the players would have to come without points to establish a good enough tournament for them to allow that event to then have those points. Now, if you take the Harder Hall Invitational, which already is in that, and you move that event itself, it is already has those points, therefore the players are willing to come. Does that make sense?
It's really about the labels.
Right,
It's the players that come every year, that's what it's about.
but with the actual Curtis Cup, whoever issues the Curtis Cup points, they control part of that too, so I think you have to establish an event before they would give you points, it won't be, hey, here you go, if you build it, they will come, it's kind of
I
like.
think all he's asking is, can you make contact with whoever is responsible for the
Right.
amateur league?
We, and not,
See what we need to do.
right, and not through Sun Lake itself, but with Sun Lake's affiliation with Citrus Golf Trail. We have partnered with a team, they're called Airstream, and they're actually doing that for us, that's what they do. So on behalf of the Citrus Golf Trail, they are going through that motions. Dan has been involved with us as far as Sun Lake, trying to go directly with Jason. And that's kind of where we're at as we stand, and Jason's kind of holding the cards on that end right now, so.
We would rather get it for us than let it, before we let it leave Highlands County, we would let it go to the Citrus Golf Trail. There's some thought as to making it a traveling tournament within Highlands County. And I think it'd be better for some Lake to have it, so, I mean, we'll do whatever is most beneficial. But at this point in time, we're talking with Jason, you know, I don't know if it'll ever go beyond that, but the last conversation, we had some unrealistic expectations of what it was worth.
Oh, okay. But if he isn't gonna have it, then it isn't worth a penny.
Correct. And if he lets it go, then we're in a lot better position to start our own. As Michael said, so,
Right.
you know, we just kind of got.
And of course,
No, I mean, you know, you're entirely correct, and we've actually been right where you are.
Yeah.
this isn't something you try to sell to us. No kidding. Wow,
Or lease.
good luck with that.
Well, I mean, there's selling, and then there's selling at a realistic price too, you know, so I mean, you gotta figure it out.
All right, so obviously the
change from 3% to 5% on the membership side, that obviously created more revenue based on our projections of membership. I just wanted to update the board again that that money went right back into the golf budget. I'm on page 13. We have the maintenance line items. And I pointed out to you already. Supplies landscape, that will be for cleaning up some of the areas between holes that have, expanded areas as requested. Also increased our pre-emergent budget. In working with Jimmy, he's a strong proponent that if we have a better pre-emergent program, that we won't have to chase so many weeds in the off season. So, and I'm on board with that as well. So we increased our pre-emergent program. There's an increase in there for insecticides. I believe most of that will be for nematode pressure in quite a few areas, which will help us grow some stronger turf as well. And
I see a big increase on your irrigation repairs. When I know we're planning on doing in the budget, we have the loops on Turtle and complete new irrigation system on Deer. So why do we have, estimated actual, maybe about 13,000 higher?
Well, the biggest issue right now is that everything with the petroleum-based products, and the heads have gone up dramatically. So I think we were at 800 originally, I recall.
Okay. Irrigation repairs estimated actual for this year is 6,500, 6,600, and we're proposing in the budget 19,005. You went up 500 from the first budget. Went up 5,000 from the first pass.
Well, the other thing that we're looking to do is put fertigation year round as well.
fertigation.
We have no fertigation system on year round. You have a wetting agent tank on the turtle, but you still don't have a fertility tank. And you have nothing on year round right now, which is allows us to put wetting agents out during the droughts and also continuous feed which would help us a lot. I mean, especially in the wintertime, because if you ever go to that option where you don't want to oversee, at least you'll be able to supplementally feed everything, even the outer perimeters and everything. You're feeding the whole golf course at 20–30% constantly versus trying to go out there and do the granular source.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You probably weren't on the board at the time, but we had money in the budget to do the fertigation on Turtle. And I think Ramon is the one that didn't think it would, he would rather put out granule for some reason. And so it was removed, but.
Okay.
So that's all the line item changes from last time. Is there any more questions on that? The bottom line stayed the same from last cycle to this cycle. I know we had a couple other things that we wanted to talk to that may or may not affect budget, but for right now, is there any more questions on those line items?
Oh, I got a question for Omar. That $40,000 that we're taking out of the assessments to give to them so they can do the maintenance. Why can't we show that revenue, debit or credit or whatever it is, so it shows up as revenue presented, so that they're aligned, a little bit more aligned with reality.
So,
Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that right.
so really what's happening is you're getting a transfer in from the general fund. We're subsidizing. In the past, we've always subsidized because the net loss has always been that big. We've had to subsidize the difference. And this year, they're actually making a positive $11,000. So the reality is the district won't even have the need to subsidize it at all. There shouldn't. So to balance this budget, I can remove that 40,000. It doesn't impact it. We're still making a positive 11,000. So right now, for budget purposes, we're just showing 51.
Yeah, but the number that they turned in is 51.
Correct.
And I'm saying if you showed additional revenues, 40,000, if that's what you get.
So that's in there. So that's how we're getting to the 51 now. That's how we're getting to the positive 51. So if we go to page 6, probably shows you the best.
And it shows it on capital spend.
Correct. So at the very bottom of that, you see a district right now, district subsidy.
No, it's shown as a capital spend.
It's not a capital.
So the district subsidy right now is 494,235. Right? In the accounting world, the budget this to make it 0, I would either reduce that to make it 444,235. I would reduce it by 51 to balance this budget out, which means they would no longer need that $40,000 to make a break-even budget.
No. I thought my question was $40,000 of additional revenue that we're giving them from the assessment. We don't show it that way. We show that we're giving them $40,000 more cash. And that's not necessarily true.
So we show it in revenues, it's just below the line. It's on, another place you can find it is page 9. And you see non-operating revenue, it says assessment for recreation, $40,000. But it's not gonna be, it's not a charge like a charge for golf course use, it's not an operating revenue for the golf course, it's a transfer from the general fund to that fund, to that operation.
What?
It's a transfer of the funds for services, but we're kind of like being contracted to mow the hay for that price, right?
Well,
So it would, in my mind, it would be a monthly breakout above the revenue line, right?
I'm okay, I can figure it out the way it is, I just thought
Yeah.
it'd be.
I understand, but I agree with you that a monthly breakout above the revenue line, so it shows the two numbers. Because that's really what it is, a contracted service.
Once again, if we did that, that's fine, but once you build capital, you're gonna have excess surplus, which I'm just gonna reduce your capital to get to the break-even budget again.
I mean,
So
if you
where do you take the number
If
from?
you read his plan, there's a profit of $51,000. Not 11.
Right. That's with the district subsidy. Right. Up to $40, which he's not gonna need because he has.
But is it a subsidy that you're paying him? Are those funds that they're transferred for them to take over the moment?
Correct.
So it's operating revenue.
Correct. It all depends on how you look at the things. I mean, that's really.
I just thought it might be something we could do easily, but forget it.
Which, no, we need to have a conversation. Once again, for this is not a typical budget year. For this budget year, we wanted to hit the 51 that they proposed, that BCG proposed in their RFP process. So that's why we're showing this 51, how we can get to the 51. For budget purposes, we have to balance to a 0 budget. So that means I need to reduce somewhere or add more expenses to make that break even. Right now, it's showing a positive 51. So we have a couple options. We eliminate the subsidy, I reduce the capital transfer, or we add more expenses to get it to break even. Those are our 3 options that we have right now to get this budget to a break even standpoint. You have $51,000 to play with somehow, whether you want to reduce it from the district general fund or add it to the golf course. Does that make sense?
No.
I'm sorry.
Right now, the budget shows plus 51,740.
Why can't it be a plus?
Because we have to, governmental accounting standards, we have to have a balanced budget throughout the account. So, right, in the past, it's always been.
I'm fine.
Which
I should have given it.
line item here is the extra mowing?
So the mowing is included in the golf maintenance.
It's put into the golf maintenance labor.
And that's the only thing that's gonna come out of golf maintenance, is the mowing.
That $40,000, we're gonna break it out. We don't have another line item on this page. We're gonna break it out so we can keep track of, if it costs $50,000 and we got 40, then obviously we need to discuss it. But if it costs 30, then obviously we can discuss that too.
When this starts, I actually wanna see
Right, we're gonna break it
in
out.
October what the mowing is actually costing.
We will break it out.
Okay. I mean, it's just too hard to,
No, I know.
the way you do things, I know that probably sometimes for a reason, but
all this does is provide ownership. Of who
Exactly.
Precisely, I don't want but one person to yell at.
Exactly.
But I get the call from Craig Herrick, so who didn't know behind my, I don't know who to call.
All right, anything else? All right, a couple of operational things that I figured this would be a good time to talk about. Well, especially one to start with, in the last meeting, we had a discussion about adding a new beverage cart to the capital budget. I went out and researched it, discussed this with you guys, what options we had. The purchase of a new refresher, a new beverage cart like the one that we have is over $18,000, which would be a capital expenditure. However, I feel, and I think Dan feels the same way, that we can get basically it's called a drop-in. It's just a unit that we could use and put in the back of a gator that would, I think suffice the need of our second beverage cart. Not to mention, I think, the gators will hold up better going down on our golf courses. The beverage cart's really thick and beaten, and it seems to be in the shop more than it's out on the grass. But and that is a little over $2,000. So it's not a capital expense that'll come out of operating. We can try it for a year, and if it's not working, we'll reevaluate next year. I don't see why it would, but I think that'll satisfy our needs for this upcoming season. All I was saying, I think I told you, the last time we were gonna open up the snack shack on Deer and let that go, and then the cart stay stationary on Turtle. Now is that not acceptable? Is that why we're doing this? I mean, if it isn't acceptable, tell us that that's the last decision the board made. Sure. I'm not sure about that discussion, but individually, yeah, we've had those discussions, and maybe that discussion was in the past that I'm not privy to. I guess it depends on who you talk to, whether it's acceptable or not to have the beverage cart out there. I feel like it's been pretty effective for us this year as I track the numbers. Obviously, it slows down in the summertime, but we run it less too. So I know there's been discussions of opening up the snack shack and having that going, and then maybe having Jeff's cart on a Turtle. I've had one-on-one discussions and that we've talked about having the beverage cart stationary. I've had those talks with Brian, and I feel like we're not all on the same page when it comes to that. So I think personally, I think the beverage cart touches people more than the snack shack would. Having this, especially on Deer, because there's no cross points on Deer, it's two loops. Turtle, if you have a stationary beverage cart, you're going to touch them at least 3 times probably, so it would make more sense, but I'd still prefer it to be moving. And I know there's contrary beliefs to that too, but I do feel for this season, this will definitely suffice our need. Now, if we are running the beverage cart, whether it's just the one on Turtle or we have 2 going, if that one beverage cart breaks down, we still, we still have an option for a small cost to make sure we get out there and cover that without a huge expenditure. It's only $200. So that answers your question. Well, if we want to continue that conversation, I'm open to see what the board thinks or how they would like to see that. If you want to have that conversation, I'll go along with about anything as long as 3 of us agree to it. Sure. I mean, it's just every time I turn around, the 3 of us change. So, yeah. Or somebody has an opinion, and I don't care. That's you got my opinion. I know Dan has an opinion too. You guys can tell me
Let's decide, we want one card, two cards, let's go, come on. One card or two cards, I say we need two cards, on whatever type of book next. We need a card for each course. Anybody want to support that, disagree with it?
A cart or a gator with a thing.
Well. One
Is there
card,
reason to?
one card, one gate, how's that? We have a card now.
Right.
So let's outfit a gator, we'll have one, it will cost us $2,400. We'll have one vehicle for each course.
We'll see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes.
If next year it doesn't work and we feel like.
He's running well ahead of his plan.
Yeah.
So he can buy whatever he needs from the gator, equip it now. Like, I mean, if he wants to, certainly by October the 1st, he should be able.
I would say that's less than spending 20 grand.
Yes, 23.
Yeah, I certainly am not in favor of buying another cart.
Here's another possibility that we talked about yesterday. I think the days are kind of running together, but one of the reasons not to do the snack shack on deer is that we changed the nines when we built number 18, so that it's really not well located for making the turn. So there was some discussion about if you went back to the old routing, which is what's now 10, would then become 9. You would come off 18 now, and you go right by the snack shack, as opposed to coming off 9 and you have to make the loop to get back to it. So I don't know if that would make a lot of difference. I think to me, that's kind of 6 one half dozen other. But if you got to have a snack cart, I'd rather spend $20,000 for one than 18,000. That's my opinion.
I like the idea of also switching the lines, but I'd rather bring another car 5.
Right. And one more point to that. When we run reverse shotguns on deer, I put something at 1, 18, 17, 16, going backwards. And and not to pick on the ladies, but especially the ladies who don't like to have the first one 17 and 18, trying to have to hit it over the water twice. And believe me, the men don't like it either. I was gonna say, but so what we do now, we actually reverse shotgun 9, 8, 7,
right.
And then we run T times off of 10. So if we reverse a 9, it would maybe make it less complicated for folks, but I mean, that's just another point.
The issue there is we probably have 10 million scorecards that way. So we would need to make that decision before we order new cards, if you guys want to do that. I don't really do it or not. It just came up this week, and I don't know that we have a consensus opinion on it. Just so you know, we're thinking about that. But that would make the snack shack more viable.
I think part of this conversation just popped in my head. Obviously, we have monuments out there, so if we reverse names, it would be depending on what we want to do there, 15 extra walls. But some little things, I don't think it'd be crazy, but.
Well, for now, we're just out for the gator and the.
For sure, and if we want to have the reversing the conversation later, I'm assuming new scorecards, we're gonna have to be in the heat around the first year. That's kind of where we have a budget for, so we would, yeah.
We gotta play 17 and 18 sometime, whether it's 17 and 18 or 7.
I definitely agree with that. So,
We also had a discussion yesterday about how much money we're spending on scorecards because they're slip paper, pictures, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I don't know how much that adds to the experience plan. Of course, with pictures on the scorecard, if you will, it'd be a lot cheaper for us if they were just regular paper, and you might be able to actually read pencil them. Something to think about.
yeah, we can evaluate that. Okay. At the same time.
We'll bring all that back to you.
Thank you.
So what do we decide? We're gonna do the the gator. We're gonna do the gator.
This is a workshop, so you can't really make,
Yeah.
but it's
an operating expense.
It's an operating expense, you can certainly take your and do it.
See if you can order those umbrellas.
I don't know, the umbrellas are over.
We ordered 2 umbrellas,
Yeah.
but I don't, and we ordered them from Wayfair, but I don't know where they are.
We changed companies, and I haven't,
That's why,
I haven't,
that's
I
why.
haven't
It's
had
way
an
big.
update for that, but I think
Try to get them in before we change the time of the clocks.
All right, so we had a
Check to see
discussion
where that is, we did order them.
on the operating side, we had a discussion with, you know, for January, February, and March to utilize our T sheet a little better. What we came up with was a proposal of instead of having 8 o'clock shotguns, to have 8:30 shotguns. We would leave the afternoon shotguns still at 1, and this wouldn't be every day, but there's some member groups, not members that book tea times, but member groups that are teeing off in tea times on the opposite course between 9 and 11, if you will. So we can either, if we started with 8:30 shotguns, that half hour makes a big difference to most golfers. We can move those member groups into that shotgun and fill it up, because that morning shotgun is underutilized. So we can utilize that shotgun a little bit better, and then open up tea times where those member groups work. And those tea times could be for, public play, probably number 1, and number 2. I have heard from some members that don't play in the member groups. I'm a member here and I can never get a 9:30 tea time. It's just not available Sundays, so that would be the whole season. It's just never there. But so I was kind of looking for a blessing from the board to go to those, at least maybe even for 1 year, this first year, just for January, February, March, have 8:30 shotguns and move member groups into the shotgun from a tea time course forward.
Are we gonna do this every day?
We will do it every day that is possible.
What's that?
Well, Mondays,
Mondays and Fridays.
yeah, there's days where there might be too many players to jam along with 2 shotguns. Mondays are big one for sure.
The reason that was changed is because member groups at 1 o'clock started getting pushed till 2.
Right,
And we were finishing after dark.
right.
And I'd go along with anything, but don't you dare do that again.
No, I understand. I think, in our discussions, I think the most times that happened was when we were doing outings.
Well, yeah, but you're gonna deal with outings. You don't start an outing at 8:30.
Right, no, so if we, and I'm not saying when we start an outing, like on a Saturday, if we have a Saturday tournament, that's gonna be an 8 o'clock shot.
Okay.
This would be member groups, and the member groups starting at 8 o'clock or 8:30. Hopefully, they should be done by 12:30. If they run 4.5 hours, I'm gonna be the first one to be drug down the road, so I'll be sure that they don't.
I think the whole season.
I wouldn't wait 3 months.
Um,
Just do it.
No, I would do it for 3 months
yeah,
and let the membership know
I-
that this is, we are trying it.
yeah,
What we're trying to do is maximize tea time,
right,
and we want your feedback. And do it.
well, that's
See
just,
what kind of problems it does for you
right,
from the membership. perspective.
right,
Start now.
Perception.
but,
Contact the group.
yeah, so, with the board's blessing, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll start sitting down with those groups now. We'll get them prepared for it. Well, basically, we gotta start building our T sheet out anyway. We need to. I'm not sure if you follow that, but we actually have to physically build the T sheet and then we start putting people in there. So we gotta start that process now, going into season. So we will need to approach those groups immediately. So that's why we're talking about it now. So we need to go through that process. But it sounds like everybody's okay moving forward with that.
And be sure and keep your financials, so we can see comparisons.
Yeah, we'll know that now. We can analyze that for sure.
If you recall, Global Golf that was here. That's one of, they said we let the members play too much golf. And my response at that time was, you can't tell members that, but what you can tell them is that we need to be more cooperative so that we can better utilize the golf courses that we have. If you do an 8 o'clock shotgun and you only have 30 people in it, then you got a problem to the whole golf course. So I think as long as our members it was explained to them properly, they'd be okay. However, I will also say that there was a huge when I was still on the board with Andy about having outside groups starting at 8:30 on Saturday and then putting the member groups going off at 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then it got to where, okay, they couldn't finish because it was dark. So
That's changed.
that has changed. But we're talking about going back to 8:30. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Just so it's a member group, start doing that, not the outings.
Right. And obviously.
We don't want that to bleed back in.
Right, that'll be part of the evaluation process. Just to be clear, if we have a tournament, it's gonna be involved.
I do think one of the things we need to make sure that the members understand is that the basic increase in going up from 3% increase in dues to 5%, we put all of that money directly back into the golf.
But we still plan to send out a letter, I hope, with the membership application, explaining that we're going to spend $1.4 million next year on the golf course. And consequently, your rate's going to go up. And we still intend to do that, correct?
Yeah, it's actually $1.7 million, but yes.
Absolutely.
Do a state message too.
I think they're both, or the same letter going to everybody, maybe, I don't know. We probably need one directly to the residents and
We
then one
need to talk
directly to
about the
the.
residents and what we do with their assessments.
Right.
So as far as budget, that's all I have. I know we wanted to have a discussion on the restaurant vision, which we brought up. I'm not sure if the board's had time to think about their vision of the restaurant. I know with Dan, we sat down with everybody, and obviously there's, and not just on the board, I think throughout the entire membership, I think there's different perspectives of what they'd like to see the restaurant be. But obviously, we still want to hear your thoughts. I know we're going to get together with another quarterly meeting here fairly soon, so we'd like to know what the vision is. It makes my life easier, it makes Brian's life easier. Here's the target, go get it, instead of, this way, that way, over here.
I guess in talking individually, it seemed to be that we couldn't be this side, we couldn't be that side, we had to be somewhere in the middle. And what we really wanted, what they really wanted, was more of an expanded menu, but not 12 pages. Is that a fair assessment?
Yep, in my vision, yes.
Okay,
Supplemented by small banquets.
absolutely. Obviously, banquet, yeah.
Because it don't, if you really want to become a restaurant, you don't shut it down when you have a big banquet. Because people are expecting to go out, unless to do something with being able to service the diners, the a la carte people. If you shut it down and your a la carte people can't come, then they're gonna say, well, they shut down all the time, so we're not even gonna bother to go out.
And that is definitely a good part of the conversation. Obviously, Dan has asked me to reach out to, he's really the architect, but when we did the lanai renovation, in the original proposal, there was supposed to be dividers to separate the main dining area from the new lanai area. In fact, he emailed me early this morning and I haven't got back to him, but I'm gonna have that discussion and see what was the original plan. Is it something that we can go back and do retro or not? And I'll bring it to Dan, but I think that would be That would go a long ways to
You don't think
minimize
late
that
taxes,
situation.
you wanna spend more?
I have no idea what the number is. It could be 5,000, it could be 100,000. I have no idea.
It was designed for that rate.
I would spend another nickel on that place.
Well, you would be able to have small meetings, et cetera, you'd be able to accommodate the members when you had a big party thing. If it's $100,000, not a deal, it's, you know, they might be able to do.
I'm not interested. That's just me, spending it more like construction.
So obviously, the discussion is, you know, on the banquet side of things, obviously, we're trying to grow the a la carte side of things, but on the banquet side of things, you know, closing the restaurant for a large banquet, member sometimes, you know, it's member functions sometimes it's not member functions. Is that okay? How many times a year is that okay? Is 0 times okay? Is 2, 4, 7? The only thing that I will say to that is that we're about 6 months ahead, so we already have a couple planned closures that we would have to navigate if the board decided that closing the restaurant is not acceptable. I will say that in our budget, we are budgeted to host all of those events for this upcoming year. If the board decided that 120 people in the banquet room patio is all we would do. I don't know how everybody feels about that.
How many people can that room hold?
The banquet room can hold about 150 people in just a normal dining situation, counting that there's no dance floor, there's no buffet tables, all that. In a wedding format, that room holds about 120. That's because you have a DJ, a dance floor, cake tables, all sorts of stuff. I want to say the main dining side with the bar, including the lanai, is somewhere between 200 and 220. Which does create an option sometimes to actually use that side, and you can serve a la carte in the other room. So there are options to try to stay open more, and we have those, and we've utilized them in the past. We don't have too many 300 people weddings knocked on the door right now, but if that were to happen, I'm comfortable with coming to the board and asking for permission. I mean, I'm willing to do what you guys are looking to do, but.
I guess I'll just say, I'll wait for the vote. Because when we built that, we told the people who built it, and Indigo, that place was never closed. And 2 weeks after we opened it, we closed the whole place down for a function. So I think we're just talking now. I mean,
That's not true. You may have told me that.
no,
The boy, I was on the board.
that's right.
The boy did not tell me.
And it was a 3-2 vote.
Oh, stop it. You have no clue.
Yeah, right. And it was, that's what was said. Dan, you were on the board. It was a 3-2 vote that they would never close it down as part of the RFP. So, and I don't care, you know, you come to us and tell us, but I don't believe a thing that's gonna be said until we see it.
Right, and I mean, evaluating it, the majority of the time when the restaurant closes a la carte dining is member events.
The one he's talking about was not a member event,
Right, no, I'm sure.
and you threw the members out,
I'm,
and they're jumping them up behind, and the reason I know it was because I got jumped because, okay, we spent all this money in the restaurant, now you just told us we're not welcome anymore, we're not coming in.
I can't speak to what was said at the board meetings back then, because I didn't come to them. I do remember when I do remember being closed for certain events, but I can't speak to the board's direction at that time, so I'm willing to do whatever the board wants to see now.
I'm not sure whether it was a board vote or not, but I know that was a discussion with Easton. I can tell you that. for sure.
What did it vote?
I don't remember that. I remember.
Yeah, you're
that.
I don't think we're going to.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna push. You saw it, you made stuff.
No, Ray, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I've heard two things, how do you feel?
In the event that you have something that big come to us, and let us
I
discuss it.
agree.
But other than that,
I don't like the fact that the close up two systems, some, sorry.
that's the fact of the close period.
That's just.
On that discussion with closing those, summer, obviously we got 2 or 3 more months to do that, we'll evaluate it, and if we feel it's worth it.
Yeah.
Next year we won't. So.
Come up with something to draw people in. It worked on the trivia thing. Unfortunately, I was told that again, but we already talked about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It said something, it said it was closed, but it wasn't closed. We had 16 people that were trying out. Stuff like that, we need to get it out. And we've had that discussion.
Right. Understood. I don't, Dan, do you have anything else we need to discuss on that topic? All right, well, Brian, do you have anything?
I got a white elephant. You got people with medical reasons why they don't share the card. You got people that have not been vaccinated that people don't want to ride with. You've got people that don't do 18 holes. They go out with maybe with an 18-hole group, but you know they're not going to make it through there. Somehow we've got to get the information out. I don't believe we want to take the position that no, you either ride with somebody or you can't talk. I don't think that's our answer. But that's what they, of course, it says the mandate. There is reasons people don't get in a cart with someone else. And I think we need to look at that in a realistic manner. If we got somebody that is continually abusing it, that is another situation. But just to say, and get in arguments over this all the time, I just don't think it's worth it.
Dan and I have had conversations on that. We've actually preliminary wrote out a policy to do that. We had exceptions to that before COVID. I know we had a couple folks, mostly medically, that needed to have their own card because they needed to leave, whether they couldn't go any further or they had a reason to leave. I don't feel why getting back to that same situation is not, I'm okay with that. Obviously, yes, to be honest with you, with that on the course, I've really only had 2 people so far, 2 that that did not want to ride, that refused to ride with somebody else, and that was not readily explainable. It didn't have a good reason. So there hasn't been a ton of pushback. I think most everybody's comfortable riding with 2 people, but so I think in our policy, we will address a way for people to come to me or Dan and ask for permission to do so, and then we basically give them a waiver. Maybe we'll give them a yellow flag. And we had some, so that's why I bring that up, but I am comfortable with those exceptions. Yeah, there are some good exceptions.
Okay, certainly is.
Anything else?
The car area, Jimmy, how do you feel about the cars?
Well, I think that, it'd be different if people drove what they were supposed to. You know, and that's the whole thing. That's a whole nother situation. I mean, I'm not trying to say we need to have police out there, rangers out there. But I've been here since last Tuesday and you see where people drive. I mean, I know Dan and I have talked about our workers and stuff like that. I'm trying to educate them as much as I can, but I mean, the members are bad about it. And, you know, yesterday morning, we were putting stuff out on Turtle, and the guy comes out and starts on 10 just to go out in front of us again. And I mean, you know, he's hitting 2 or 3 balls, he's interrupting, we're waiting on him. I mean, that's the stuff that drives me crazy. And then, of course, he drives right down the side of number 3 and car pass on the left. So, I mean, I know we did, close to 80,000 rounds last year. That's still a lot of play. It's a lot of extra wear and tear on the golf course. You know that, you've been in the business a lot. I know some people are worried about pace of play and how fast they can get done versus really, you know, the golf cart's never going to be that. It's the person that, you know, they abuse it. And it's always been that way for the 30 years I've been in the business. It's been that way. So, I mean, if you ask me, I would say either it's got to be released or, I mean, if they stay on the cart path, there's no issue. I mean, around keys and greens, it's no issue. If they spread out on the fairways, there's no issue, but they're like goats. You know, everything goes into one place. So
What if we did the 80-degree rule?
I'd be fine with that if we could force it. Like I said, it's just.
Especially during the summertime when it's so dry like this.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, you can see the wear patterns out there right now. And it's only gonna get worse until we get the rains. And then, of course, when you got the water on the golf course, then you got 3 or 4 cars going through the wet areas.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I don't know about the scenario, whether it's we put the rangers out there, and police more, you know, it's, you know, a lot of people don't like seeing them either. They feel like they're being pushed and harassed on the same too. But I mean, if you're asking me personally, I mean, it helps us to have the 2 carts. I know the pace of play gets a little slower with the 2 carts, but definitely the wear and tear on the golf course is there.
Thank you. Mike, why don't you ask anything about the 80-degree rule, especially since it's so dark?
Yeah, the one thing that we don't have is cart paths all the way around, so.
I'm just talking about the signs.
Right, so we can look into that for sure. I'll get with Jimmy and see how he feels about that, and we'll move forward. All right. Mike, I think that's about it.
It's just, we have a lot of exceptions, it's gonna be tough for you. You know, it's in.
I like the yellow flag option. I think that would be easy.
That way people can identify somebody easier, and it's not, well, they can do it, I can't. It's like they know it's been approved anyway, so. Like I said, there's 2 people, that's all I ran into that refuse. They had a couple.
Have they subsequently reviewed?
Yes,
Continually?
well, I mean, it's been 9 days, 10 days now, yes, they have refused, they have not doubled up yet. But we have not, you know, we haven't issued them, I mean, we've spent the last week and a half reminding people, educating people, this is where we are, this is the policy now. That way, everybody's aware of what we're doing, and at this point, now moving forward, before we start tacking on, we're gonna have to start notifying them, we're gonna have to send them letters, we're gonna let them know that this is the consequence if you don't wanna go there. But now that we've addressed the exception part of it, I think that's, you know, now we can move forward with that.
Have they
Are
ever,
these the 2 men?
have they ever come up with an excuse?
Is what we're talking about, the 2 men?
It is 2 men, and they,
Are they both vaccinated?
I assume so,
And you're in the group?
I assume so.
Well, why don't they ride together?
You can't ask a question.
I
You have to be careful how you ask that. That's medical information.
HIPAA.
Yeah, definitely need to be a little careful on that subject, but
So if you don't wanna be, you're not.
But have they given you excuse subsequently?
it's the same,
And they're just not.
right? But we have not issued them a warning or any sort of penalty at this time. But that would be,
Ultimately, we're gonna have to make the decision in October whether we want them as members or not, if that's the way they feel. Sooner or later.
we have the policies in place to enforce our policies, so.
They rode together before, and I think, at least I think I'm gonna go.
Well, I mean, we can certainly share with you what you're talking about, but,
I thought your concern was that, we didn't know who was vaccinated.
No, they,
I thought that's what I heard.
in particular, from what I understood, they knew that the person wasn't vaccinated and they weren't going to ride with the person that wasn't vaccinated.
So don't we just put two vaccinated people together then?
You would think that would be the easiest way to do things, but like I said, we haven't forced the issue past that point, so until we do that, we'll see how far they're willing to refuse.
We can't ask the question.
we're in a no-win situation, and no matter what you say, if you believe in the vaccination, what do you care if they've been vaccinated or not? I mean, it's kind of, if it works, it works. I get it, it's better if they're not, but we can't even ask the question, you know, and there's more variants coming out, there's all sorts of stuff, so I don't know. But we can't allow people to just beat our golf course on a piece of cedar, so it's kind of.
Right. The good news is, the majority of everybody is good and comfortable with it. It's not, it's a smaller problem now, so it's not crazy, so we will deal with it.
Yeah, you're gonna have, if we don't.
We'll go backwards. That's the problem too.
Right.
If we don't deal with it, we'll go backwards. That's for sure.
We won't shoot anybody until we talk to you guys first.
All right, let's open up. I think we've covered everything.
Is that it? Adjourned.